Okay, welcome back everybody. Recent data from the Statistical Institute of Jamaica shows prices are no longer rising because a few categories have skyrocketed in costs. What did I just read a while ago? All right, I'm going to flesh it out with Miss Shelly in a bit. Instead, price increases are spreading. So they're not rising, but they're spreading. Here to break this all down for us is Senior Unit Head and Senior Statistician, Indices and Price Analysis Unit with Administrative Statistics Division, Shelly-Ann Chambers. Of course, that's with Statin. Good morning.
Good morning, Simone. Good morning, Delia.
How are you?
Into English, what did I just say? So prices aren't rising anymore, they're spreading.
Well, indeed, prices are still rising in the Consumer Price Index. We're seeing, overall, we've seen upward movement in price of food, specifically in the Consumer Price Index basket. When we look at, for example, grains and cereal products, those have increased over the period. We're looking at a point-to-point or a year-over-year inflation of 10.2%.
Whoa.
And of that amount, food contributed 12.6%.
Whoa.
Right. And mainly impacting those prices were the price of grains and cereals, as I stated before. So looking at flour, your bread, your rice, your cornmeal, and meat products. We saw higher prices for chicken and for other meat products. Also impacting the prices of CPI also were items from our restaurants and cafes and the like. We saw a 19.3% increase in the point-to-point period for those products. And those would include your restaurants, your street shops, your fast food restaurants. Those prices have been trending upward. Also impacting prices are fuel prices. And fuel prices rose by almost 30%, 32.4% for the same point-to-point period, looking at the current year. As at August 2022 to August 2021. That's our latest figure released from Statin.
Yeah. How do you measure the Consumer Price Index, Shelly?
All right, so the CPI looks at the general changes in prices of consumer goods and services, and it's used to measure inflation in Jamaica. So we look at figuratively, what we talk about is a basket of goods and services, and we look at how the prices of those goods and services are moving over time.
So what going in the basket?
Oh, it's a whole heap of items in the CPI basket. Nearly all goods and services consumed by consumers are included in the CPI, from your food items, which we spoke about, including your beverages, your alcoholic beverages, also looking at clothing and footwear, looking at personal care items, your tissue, your services like going to the barber or the hairdresser, looking at pharmaceuticals, looking at the cost of over-the-counter drugs, looking at cost to visit the doctor, cost to visit the dentist, looking at a quite large variety of items, including, for example, your electricity rates, your water rates, the cost of paint, So it
captures everything.
Yes, almost all items consumers consume are included in the CPI.
Okay.
10% year on year.
Yes,
is that unprecedented?
Well, I can't speak to whether it is unprecedented because at Statin we track what happens in the market. I know there are different targets for inflation, but we track exactly what happens in the market, and it's trending in that directive. When we look at, for example, in January year on year, it was around 9.7%. I think in March it went around 11.8%. And then in August, it went to 10.2. So that's in general how year over year the CPI is moving.
And Shelly, this is tied to what now? Because Dale and I were talking this morning about war and what war causes.
Yes.
But there are a lot of factors. I mean, COVID, we've had supply chain issues.
Yes.
So what are they tied to?
Yes, so the increase in prices, as you put it straight on the head, were attributable to higher prices due to uncertainty with the war in Ukraine, disruption in supply chain, which impacted our grain products. So we know Russia and Ukraine produce fuel and grain, one of the main supply of those products. And we saw that impacting fertilizer prices locally also, and also our fuel prices. So the categories I spoke about, we can see the direct link to how those prices are moving.
Yeah. There was something we read earlier, and it was saying price increases are spreading. Clarify that for me. What does that mean? That just across all areas increases are happening? Right.
We're seeing increases for all divisions or all categories within the CPI.
Okay.
So from your food, the housing, the information and transport, the restaurants, we're seeing
recreation, sport and culture.
Yes, we're seeing upward movements across the categories.
So what is the outlook look like? Because I know a part of your job is forecasting. I don't know if your crystal ball is shiny this morning, but what are we looking at? Because there is a notion that things are getting slowly back to some semblance of normalcy. We've heard that some of our shipping rates are going down and supply chain, for the most part, is leveling off.
Yeah.
Are we going to feel that? Is the CPI going to show that costs have gone down, or are people going to take what has happened as an opportunity to keep things up and hence inflation high?
Well, starting doesn't speak to policy nor projecting. We actually just calculate the figures. So we actually speak to directly what the figures are when we calculate the information. So we don't speculate on what prices are. So we just give you the figures as we calculate.
It's a snapshot at that
point in time. We calculate it based on how the prices are moving at that point in time.
Yeah, it's interesting because the article that we used to start the interview says most economists attribute the ability of companies to still charge more to consumers' willingness to pay. And that retailers are now raising prices because they can, not because they have to. And they're citing instances when oil prices and so on have come down. So when we look at the basket, we look at what I have in my pocket going into the basket, or we just look at the basket?
What do you mean by your pocket?
So can we say, well, Jamaicans have more spending money based on statistics? It says that they're earning more, so they have more spending money.
Well, the CPI looks at the prices, how the prices are trending.
Right.
So it looks at how the prices are moving for all the items in the CPI.
Right.
So we couldn't definitively say that there is more or less
spend.
money to spend in that regard. But the higher inflation is, then therefore we would see that, what you can purchase with that money would have been less in terms of the current day value of the funds. So if prices continue to trend upward, then what you can purchase with those items will be less.
I know you don't forecast, but you do look at trends.
Yes.
And so based on how things are trending, this is going to go on for at least the rest of 22 into 23. Okay. Shelly, don't want to comment on
yes, I have to be careful because we don't actually project and look at where the policy information is. But what I would say to the consumers is pretty much to look at your spending patterns and where you can substitute items, where they are higher priced, then you can substitute the items accordingly. So that is what I would say to our listeners, that they would look at that prices in that regard.
Is it typical when things have gone up so high for them to come down low? In your experience?
It depends on the product we're looking at. For example, if we look at our vegetables and tubers and those type of items, or yams or carrots, that is impacted by supply and demand. So when there is a large supply of items, then the prices tends to be lower, and when there is, a shortage, then the prices tend to be higher. So it depends on the commodities in the CPI basket that we're looking at. It depends.
Copy that. All right. So I guess we have to take your advice and just look at our purchasing power, spending power.
Yes.
What we have and how we can make it mickle to the muckle, right?
Yes, definitely.
And make it, because, boy, may I tell you, supermarket is a headache. Them days, rough.
Yeah.
Rough. Thank you, Shelly.
Thank you, Shelly.
You're most welcome. Thank you for having me as well.
Good to have you. Unit Head, Senior Statistician, Indices and Price Analysis Unit, Administrative Statistics Division, with Shelly-Ann, Stacey-Ann Chambers. All right. After this, where are we heading?
We catch up with the Jamaica Wrestling Federation as they prepare for the Summer Olympics in 2024.